deserve a fair and open-minded investigation in a matter this serious, not a committee made up of people exclusively who have prejudged the issue. That's not an investigation.
There could be an independent, as you know, panel. There is not, for a reason, which is that Donald Trump opposed it. That aside, I'm wondering, when it comes to Steve Bannon believing that executive privilege applies here, is that because he alleges that Trump is still president?
Not at all. It's very simple. I know you keep going around this and saying former President Trump never invoked privilege. You and I simply disagree about that. There's a letter from Justin Clark on the president's behalf that went to Mr. Bannon's lawyer,
Did it
Mr.
go
Costello,
to the committee?
That told him privilege. Pardon?
Did it go to the committee?
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. Sure, the committee was made well aware of it by Mr. Costello. And let me tell you this. I got into this case yesterday, Sunday.
Okay, listen, David, did he formally invoke privilege with the committee?
Yes, that's my understanding. Mr. Costello was in constant communication with the committee and
Trump
made clear that the issue here was executive privilege. And
Trump did not invoke privilege formally with the committee.
All right, I mean, you keep saying that, and I'm telling you that Mr. Bannon advised the committee that he was advised by President Trump in writing that he is not to appear and not to answer the questions, which, by the way, is supported by the Office of Legal Counsel also when a member of the executive branch is subpoenaed. He followed in good faith what the Justice Department policy binding on the Justice Department has been. So this isn't equal justice under the law to now bring a criminal charge.
Many of the things you cite, a court has not found in favor of, right? Some of these things are squishy or they're very much theoretical, just to be clear. Nonetheless, this committee has outlined 17 categories of documents that it sought from Steve Bannon. Does Bannon have them?
I don't know. I'm not going into those details now. As I say, I just got hired on Sunday. Today was the first day I've seen the subpoena in the case. So I'm not prepared to talk about that. I'm prepared to talk about the process. That's what interests me.
Okay,
because Mr. Garland said this is equal justice under the law. Pardon?
Well, look, Bannon he may not be the last person to sort of face this consequence, which is clear. We don't know at this point in time. Process. You said that Bannon was acting on the advice of counsel by not testifying or providing documents to the committee. Why did you say that?
Because he had acted on the advice of counsel. His counsel's been clear. He directed him not to appear and not to provide the documents because executive privilege had been invoked. There's no dispute about that.
But you're familiar with D.C. law on this matter, right?
Yes, I am.
So it's not actually a defense. Advice of counsel is not a defense in D.C.
I disagree with that.
When it comes to, if I may, when it comes to contempt of Congress charges such as this, it's very clear. There was a 1961 decision. This isn't even anything recent.
That's right.
It's very clear, and you know that.
1 second. If you don't mind, with all due respect, please don't tell me what I know. I disagree with you.
Well, I would hope
what,
you would
what
know
you've
it.
said. There's a 1961 decision, Machiavelli, that says it's not a defense to criminal contempt. That case predates all of the Supreme Court jurisprudence on willfulness. This statute charges a willful violation. The advice of counsel, direction by counsel not to answer questions and not to appear is clearly relevant to the concept of willfulness. There's another D.C. court case. I'm not going to go into the legal argument here.
I know.
But much more than this. But I disagree 100% that 1961 case still applies.
Are you going to request a trial by jury?
Read Ratzlaff.
Are you going to request a trial by jury or by the judge?
I don't know. I don't know that yet.
And you have a right to be tried within 70 days of indictment. Do you intend to exercise that right?
I don't know any of those things yet, Frank. I just got into the case, but all of your questions are good questions. I didn't mean to single out one.
Will your client be fundraising off his indictment?
I don't know anything about that.
Will you advise him not to?
I don't advise about things like that, quite frankly. I'm here just to defend the case.
Bannon I want to play something that your client said. This was on his radio show just the day before the insurrection.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. Just understand this. All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. It's not going to happen like you think it's going to happen, okay? It's going to be quite extraordinarily different. And all I can say is strap in. The War Room, a posse. You have made this happen, and tomorrow it's game day. So strap in.
What did he mean?
Well, first of all, you'd have to ask him and not me. But having met him now, I know that he certainly didn't mean anything about violence. The country is upset. Parts of the country, maybe half of the country, is upset about how the election went. A significant part of the country has concerns about election integrity. So I think he's talking to his viewers and listeners who feel that way about it. But he's not talking about violence. You're
saying he had no foreknowledge of the events that played out on January 6th.
First of all, I'm not in a position to speak on his behalf about any foreknowledge, knowledge,
yes, you are.
Or otherwise.
You're his lawyer.
I just met him yesterday. I met him yesterday for the first time. I'm his lawyer defending against a criminal contempt charge. What I will tell you this, having met him, I would not believe for a second that Mr. Bannon in any way intended for there to be condoned, accepted, ratified, or otherwise any violence on January 6th or any other day. I just don't believe it.
And I wonder, are you representing Steve Bannon because it is Donald Trump's desire that you do?
No, I'm not.
He weighed into none of you defending Steve Bannon. He's had no hand in this.
I was contacted by someone who, as far as I know, I was contacted by someone on behalf of Steve Bannon to ask me if I would represent Steve Bannon. Had nothing to do with Donald Trump or anybody else, frankly.
And I just want to ask you about something that your client said yesterday. This is a soundbite that he said just outside of the court about going on offense. Let's listen.
We're tired of playing defense. We're going to go on the offense on this and stand by. We're going on the offense. Stand by.
Of course, President Trump notably said that phrase, stand by, at one of the debates where he declined to clearly condemn white supremacists. Let's play that.
Do you want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white
supremacists and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by.
Is your client sending a signal to extremists?
Absolutely not. But if you give me some time, I could put together a series of videos with Democratic members of Congress saying stand by if you think that that's a word that's a signal or some kind of alert. No, he's not. He's saying that there's a double standard here, that this is not equal justice under the law, and that no American should stand by and accept this kind of politicalization of the criminal process. It's not right. It's not fair. You should be outraged by it.
David, thank you for joining us this morning. David Schoen, appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for having two people from Montgomery, Alabama in a row.